Hello everyone. Have you ever had a dream in your heart, something big you wish to do? Maybe start a new project, learn a new skill, or create something meaningful. But then you tell yourself, not now, maybe later. Today's story is about a farmer who had a dream, a helpful friend, and a powerful lesson about waiting. By the end of this story, you may feel ready to stop waiting and start chasing your own dream today. In a peaceful village surrounded by soft green hills, there lived a man named Daniel. He owned a large piece of land, and deep in his heart, he carried a beautiful dream. Each morning, Daniel walked by his field. He would close his eyes and picture it filled with life. Tall corn reaching toward the sun, ripe red tomatoes on green vines, and rows of bright sunflowers turning their faces to the sky. He smiled and whispered,
"One day this land will be full of life."
But Daniel never planted anything. He would sit under a shady tree, sipping tea from a clay cup, telling himself,
"The ground is too hard. The seeds may not grow in this soil. The weather is always wrong, too hot or too wet. If it becomes difficult, I may give up. Waiting feels safer. My farm will grow when the time is right."
Next to Daniel lived his neighbor, Thomas. Thomas had a much smaller piece of land. But unlike Daniel, Thomas believed in effort. Every morning, while the sky was still pink with early light, Thomas was already in his field. He dug into the earth with his hands. He planted small seeds carefully. He carried buckets of water from the nearby stream. His shirt became soaked with sweat, and his back ached from the work. But he did not stop. Daniel would watch and laugh.
"Thomas, why do you work so hard? Your field is so small. Just wait like I do. When the time is right, everything will grow."
Thomas would smile gently, wipe his brow, and reply,
"I feel joy in working today and seeing something grow tomorrow."
Months passed. The hills turned from lush green to golden brown as the seasons slowly shifted. Villagers could be seen working in their fields from dawn till dusk, preparing for the upcoming harvest festival. Daniel still sat under his shady tree each morning, tea in hand, watching the sky. But sometimes his eyes drifted to Thomas's field. At first, he noticed a few rows of freshly turned soil. A week later, small green shoots poked through the earth. Another week passed, and those shoots stood taller, reaching up with confidence. Bright leaves swayed gently in the breeze. And not long after, blossoms appeared, tiny signs of what was coming. From a distance, Daniel watched as Thomas worked patiently. He saw him weeding, watering, talking to his plants. The field that once looked so plain had become alive. Daniel squinted, then shook his head. "Maybe his side gets better sunlight," he muttered. "Perhaps he is using special seeds, or he just got lucky this year." He leaned back under the tree, sipping his tea slowly. "No need to rush. My time will come." But the changes in Thomas's field could no longer be ignored. The plants had grown tall, the vines were full. The once small patch of land now stood as a living picture of effort and growth. Daniel tried not to stare, but his eyes kept wandering. And deep inside, a quiet thought began to echo.
What if the only difference is that he started?
Daniel sighed, trying to shake it off. He told himself he would start soon. But with every passing day, the silence in his own field grew louder. One sunny morning, Daniel was awakened by the sound of cheering. He stood up quickly and ran outside. What he saw took his breath away. Thomas's small field was full of life. Corn stood tall like proud soldiers, tomatoes glowed red and heavy on the vines, and sunflowers swayed gently, smiling toward the sun. Villagers clapped and gathered around his field. They chose Thomas's best crops to be honored at the festival. Daniel looked at his own land. It was dry and lifeless. Only weeds grew there. His heart felt heavy. He realized he had waited too long. That evening, Daniel visited Thomas.
"What is your secret?" he asked quietly. Thomas handed him a warm cup of tea and said with kindness,
"There is no secret, Daniel. I simply began. Dreams do not grow while you wait. You must plant the seeds, water them, and keep going. It is difficult sometimes, but that is how things grow."
Daniel walked home slowly under the stars. He thought about Thomas's beautiful field, and about how his own land remained untouched. He remembered how often he had said, "later," and how nothing ever changed. He felt regret, but he also felt something new, hope.
"I will begin tomorrow," he said to himself. Dawn over Daniel's empty field.
The next morning, something different happened. For the first time, the villagers saw Daniel working in his field. He dug into the hard soil. He dropped seeds gently into the ground. He carried water from the stream. He spoke to his tiny plants.
"Grow strong. This land will become beautiful."
Children watched him and giggled when he tripped or spilled water, but Daniel smiled. He kept working. Then came a hard time. The rain stopped, the stream became shallow, Daniel's plants began to droop. He wanted to give up, but he remembered Thomas's words. So Daniel walked to the village well. It was deep, and the buckets were heavy. He hauled water every day. It was tiring, but he did not stop. And slowly, he saved his crops. By the next season, Daniel's land had changed. Corn grew tall and green. Small tomatoes peeked out from thick vines. A few bright sunflowers turned their faces toward the sky. It was not as full as Thomas's field, but it was alive, and it was his. At the harvest festival, every farmer displayed their crops. Daniel placed his vegetables on a small table beside Thomas. People cheered for everyone. An old woman with gentle eyes picked up one of Daniel's sunflowers. She held it carefully and said,
"This shows the heart of someone who did not give up."
Daniel's smile trembled, his eyes filled with quiet pride. That is the lesson. Dreams do not grow by waiting. They grow with work. Even small steps, taken with effort, bring results over time. So, what dream is in your heart? Do not wait for the perfect time. Start today. Take one small action. You may be amazed at what begins to grow. Did this story speak to your heart? Share it with a friend who needs encouragement. And tell me, what is one thing you will start today? Let us cheer each other on.